Good evening, everyone. I'll call the City Council to order at 8 o'clock on Monday evening, March 9th, 2026. This meeting is being recorded. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. There are 18 items on this evening's agenda, and I'll ask the City Clerk to please read agenda item number 1.
Minutes of the City Council meeting, February 9th, 2026.
Councilor Vital.
Mr. President, I'd like to accept and place on file the minutes.
Motion's made and seconded to accept and place on file the minutes. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The meeting minutes are filed and the vote is 10-0. Agenda item number 2.
Now is the time for the public hearing on the petition of Mass Electric and Verizon to relocate one joint-owned pole on Jefferson Street, beginning at a point approximately 420 feet northwest of the center line of the intersection of Highland Street and continuing approximately 10 feet in a northwest direction. National Grid is proposing to relocate pole 4 10 feet from its current location on Jefferson Street, order number 26-100-9663. And in addition, we have a communication from National Grid requesting to withdraw the petition for Jefferson Street, and also from the city engineer for recommended conditions.
Councilor Ficillo.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to the city engineer for sending over the conditions. However, the applicant has indicated that the customer no longer needs to move the pole, so I move to withdraw the petition.
Motion's made and seconded to withdraw the petition, and there'll be no need for a public hearing. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, good. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. The no need for the public hearing, and the petition has been withdrawn, and the vote is 10-0. Agenda item number 3.
Now is the time for the public hearing on the application for special permit from Attorney Brian Falk on behalf of Marlboro Northborough Land Trust to build and operate 2 multifamily dwellings with a total of 90 residential units, accessory parking, resident amenities, landscaped areas, and open space areas to be located at the corner of Ames and Forest Streets, order number 26-100-9664.
Okay, the public hearing will be conducted in 4 stages. First, with the public speaking in favor, starting with the applicant. Second, questions from the public. Third, public speaking in opposition. And then finally, questions from the City Council. So I'll open the first part of the public hearing with the public speaking in favor. And I'll ask for you, please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, President Austin, councilors. Excuse me. Attorney Brian Falk from Myrick, 100 Front Street in Worcester, here on behalf of the applicant Marlboro Northborough Land Realty Trust, which is an affiliate of the Gutierrez Company. Here with me tonight from the Gutierrez Company is Scott Weiss. This is an application for a special permit in the brand new Ames Village Overlay District. The district was added to the zoning ordinance by the council late last year, allowing for multifamily development that preserves open space near existing neighborhoods. The overlay and the project site consist of 11 acres. It's at the corner of Ames and Forest Street. There's a single-family home at 343 Forest Street. Otherwise, the site is open. Through the land trust, Gutierrez has owned this property since 2000, and the applicant purchased the home at 343 Forest Street in 2025. This is a transitional area in the city as a land use matter. A lot of different land uses all in the vicinity of this property. We have the single-family neighborhoods on Sandini Road, Teller Street, Glen Street, and McKay Drive, north and east of the site. The Avalon multifamily community is located across Forest Street to the south, and the Marlboro Technology Park on Nickerson Road and Ames Street are to the west. One of the purposes of the overlay district was to maintain the property's buffer between the existing single-family residential neighborhood and these other denser and commercial uses nearby. This is an overview of our plans. This is nearly identical to the concept plans that we presented to the council when we sought the overlay district last year. These 2 buildings would contain ownership condominium units, not rental apartments. The community would be age-targeted, designed for empty nesters to remain homeowners without the upkeep of a larger single-family home. And this approach would shift developed areas towards Ames and Forest Streets, leaving most of the site's open areas untouched. In addition to being a better design for the site than the underlying zoning, we think this proposal offers better revenues for the city. In terms of the layout, we have driveway entrances off of both Ames Street and Forest Street. The Forest Street driveway would be right in, left in, but it would be restricted on exits to right exits only, help reduce traffic flow that might otherwise go towards Sandini Road. It's a little hard to see on this plan, but we have a pervious path that surrounds the back of the buildings. So this would allow for emergency vehicle access completely around the buildings, not just from the front. So the city's zoning for the site specifies the parameters of development. I'm just going to run through the basics. Not more than 90 residential units. We have to comply with the city's 12% affordable housing requirement. 50-foot side and rear setbacks. Maximum building setback from the road of 200 feet. 50% lot coverage. Preservation of 4 of the 11 acres on the site as untouched open space. And at least 1.5 parking spaces per unit. The overlay district does allow for, by special permit, modification of those dimensional controls. We will not be needing that. We meet or exceed all the standards in the zoning ordinance. So we're going to have 90 residential units total divided between the 2 buildings, 42 in one building, 48 in the other building. Our side setback minimum is 120 feet, and our rear setback is 230 feet. That's far in excess of the 50-foot minimums for the zoning district. The building setback from Ames and Forest Street is 180 feet total, leaving 20 feet to spare, a little bit closer to the street than would otherwise be required. Total lot coverage is just 18.4%, which means 4/5 of the site is pervious, not built areas. And we're preserving 5.87 of the 11 acres, just shy of half the site, where 4 is required to be reserved as open space. And we're providing 1.6 parking spaces per unit, up from the minimum of 1.5. So in the 2 buildings, the 42-unit building, we have 42 parking spaces in a garage at the basement level, and the 48-unit building has 48 spaces. So each unit has a garage space, and then we'll have 54 spaces in the parking areas in the front of the building. Again, keeping the activity in the front of the building, not in the rear where there might be noise and visual issues for our neighbors. In terms of the city's revenue, this is our tax projection. Because this will be age targeted for older homeowners, we do not expect to have school-aged children in the community. As a result, we believe the project would generate over $500,000 in net revenue to the city each year. In the contrast, a by-right single-family neighborhood would be a slight loss to the city each year with an expected larger number of school children in the community. So overall, we think this is a good development for this site. From our zoning amendment hearings last year, and we had 4 of them total, 2 before the council, 2 before the planning board, we heard from neighbors that came to those hearings, and we had met with many neighbors before those hearings that this was a preferable development to by-right single-family homes, which would be located much closer to the existing neighborhood and occupy a lot more of that open space. And this design resulted from early neighborhood meetings before we got before the council and planning board in terms of what folks were looking for. And what they were looking for was maximize the open space between the neighborhood and the developed area. And we think that accomplishes that goal. So we have a nearly 6-acre buffer area, helps maintain that transition between the single-family neighborhood and the denser commercial areas nearby. And I mentioned previously, this is an ownership project. Many of the multifamily communities that have come up in Marlboro in recent years have been rentals. These will be ownership units, so condominium, all 2-bedroom, and again, age-targeted, geared towards empty nesters, folks looking to downsize locally, don't want to be renters for the first time in 40 years, want to own, but don't want to have a large single-family home to maintain. And one of the things we do hear, of many things people complain about with the current housing market, and there are many things to complain about, but one gripe we do hear is from those empty nesters who would like to downsize, but there's not a lot of availability in terms of what you could own. And so with a project like this, assuming our 90 residents are going to be largely local, looking to stay in place and downsize in their home community, we're now going to have 90 larger homes that are going to be coming onto the market available to younger families. So we think this addresses some of the concerns folks have in terms of new projects coming online, rental versus ownership, and a net positive fiscal impact to the city. In terms of process, if the council grants a special permit, we would then go through formal site plan review with the city's site plan review committee. We met with that committee last month to go over these initial plans. We provided the city engineer with a traffic study we did for the project. We also provided the fire chief with a fire access plan showing the largest truck being able to get in and navigate around both of the buildings. We look forward to working with the council, the urban affairs committee, and the site plan committee as the city continues to review this project. And that concludes our formal presentation. We thank you for your time and look forward to your questions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Falk. Are there any other members of the public speaking in favor? Any other members, please come on up and state your name and address for the record, please.
Fred Meyer, M-E-Y-E-R, 125 Sandini Road.
Okay, Fred.
This building's gonna be in my backyard, the one, because I live on the corner of Sandini and Forest Street. And I don't mind it. If you have a lot of houses, it's gonna destroy a lot of the property, and it's gonna be, it's not as user-friendly for the people that already live there. We don't want more houses in our backyards. We want Mother Nature in our backyards, the deer, the squirrels, whatever, you know? At one of the other meetings they had, one of the councilors, whatever it was, said, oh, what about walking paths? We don't want people walking through our backyards either. So that's one of the reasons somebody might be asking, well, what about that? And they're not gonna have picnic areas or anything else like that. It's just grass, trees, and a place to live. That's about all I got.
Okay. Thank you, Fred. Any other members of the public speaking in favor?
Hello. Tiona Brown, 347 Milham Street. I would just like to go on the record as being in favor of this project, just as a continuance of being in favor of the project when it was presented last year. And I believe all my comments are already on record. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiona. Any other members of the public speaking in favor?
Good evening. My name is Jacob Ratliff. I live at 33 Flynn in the neighborhood. So overall, I want to say, I think I've missed a couple of the previous meetings for this specific design, but I have been at other meetings previous to that. I think overall, this seems like a good design, and it has improved since the housing was being developed. I do have a few other questions, though, that are not necessarily about the design, but are more systemic to the city in general, related to the fire station that is still yet to be built on this side of town. There's another topic later this evening about more units being built in the campus area. There's still other buildings being built down on Cimarano Drive. Has there been a look, because I know you said there was a traffic study, which is great. Has there been a systemic traffic study of all of these together when they all start hitting at the same time? And all of that, because that's a lot of different things going on at once. And so a lot of my questions are not necessarily about this specific project, but more about all of these things happening in similar timeframes and how all of them hitting at the same time will cause more of that to happen. So,
Thanks, Jacob. This is for the public speaking in favor. The next
Yep.
part's the questions, but I'll
Okay.
answer this one by saying.
Perfect, thank
the
you.
The urban affairs folks can take a look at that.
Okay.
Have we done a comprehensive site-wide traffic study or a citywide traffic study? That answer is no.
Okay.
It's usually project-specific. As each project comes in, they build on each of the prior projects that have come in, Jacob. So I hope that helps.
thank you.
You're welcome, Jacob. Any other members of the public speak in favor? Any members of the public speak in favor? Any other members of the public speak in favor? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Questions from the public?
My name is Dana McPhee. I live at 33 Flynn Ave. My first question is regarding the runoff that will come as these are being built. So when that Avalon apartment complex was being built, the amount of runoff that came into the neighborhood was excessive, like to the point we have a full house filtration system, and we usually have to replace it every 6 months, and we were replacing it like every 2 because of the amount of runoff, because it's such a steep incline. So I'm curious how you're going to mitigate that.
Sure. So we have to comply with current stormwater standards, which require that we keep everything on site. Once the project is built, nothing gets to leave the site. It all has to be retained on site. That's what current standards require. And that's something that will be reviewed and enforced as part of the site plan review for the project once we get through the special permit phase. In terms of during construction, that's something that's also addressed during site plan review, where the city departments take a look at what is our construction stormwater mitigation plan. How are we keeping any runoff from leaving the site during construction? So there's both a during construction phase that reviews that, and also post construction. City departments are well aware of the site, the topography. We've had initial discussions with the site plan committees I mentioned earlier, and those discussions will be ongoing. But city departments are quite good at holding builders' feet to the fire in terms of complying with stormwater standards.
And my second question is, if you're so age targeted, and I don't really understand what that means. I mean, I understand what that means, but why is this not like a 55 plus community? Because I think that to say you're age targeted and say that there's not going to be a single school age child feels very unrealistic.
Understood. So one of the reasons, and I'll let Scott speak to this too if he's got more to say, doing an over 55 requires a deed restriction, and it can be cumbersome when folks are looking to buy and looking to sell. And I know the council has had certain deed restrictions actually come before the council to release the over 55 requirement because it's been problematic for certain owners. So it's both somewhat bureaucratic and also difficult for owners often. So when we say age targeted, what we mean is the product that we're building is really not geared for young families and kids. It's geared for empty nesters. So the point of having the covered garage is that there's an elevator from your car to your unit, so you never have to go outside during winter time. It has that convenience. The amenities that will be there are going to be pretty minimal. This is not designed for young folks coming in having a good time. There are many communities in Marlboro, newer communities, where that is the case, and they're built that way. This will not be one of them. This is built to be a quiet place. We're not building playgrounds. We're not putting in a pool. There aren't going to be amenities that draw in younger folks. That's what we mean by age targeted. It's in the design. And in our experience, this particular product virtually has no children. It's just not a place that folks tend to move to with kids. You're not wrong that without an age restriction, does that seem like that might be a higher risk? You're not wrong, but in the design of this, that's how this is designed, that's how it's targeted, that's the price point. It's geared towards empty nesters and older people.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Dana. Any other questions from the public? Question?
I have one more additional, again, Jacob Ratliff at 33 Flanagan. One more additional question about the right turn on Forest. You said it'd be right turn enforced. Is this going to be enforced by just signage, or there's actually going to be construction or design to say that there's only a right turn out of here and only a right turn in? Because speaking from being in the neighborhood and having a buses only turn in on that street, it does not work.
Understood. It's going to be both. It'll be signage and then also the physical construction and arrows. So you're not wrong. Short of spiked gates, is it possible somebody might make an illegal left onto Forest Street? Yes, just like the folks that drive down Sandini now, ignoring the giant sign that says school buses only, everybody else go around. But designing it this way, we think, is the best protection that we can provide, while also providing, reasonable access for folks to come and go.
For the traffic study that was done, was it also done with the idea of when AMSA was in school? because the traffic on Forest is atrocious during those times, rightly so. So I just want to make sure that was taken into account.
Yep, and we've shared that with the city engineer, and we posted it on the city's permitting review system. We can make that more publicly available. We had MDM Transportation in Marlboro do the traffic study. They take into account, first of all, the baseline projects that are coming online in terms of figuring out what's the traffic impact, but they look at the morning peak and the afternoon peak based on when school is in session, yes.
Great, thank you. My last question is about the fire station. I just didn't know if I should ask that now or if that's another time.
This is your time. You can ask Jacob any question you would like.
I'm just curious because we've come to a number of these, especially for the fire station, but I think that was early in COVID when we did it online. And so I'm curious what the process is for that because of all of these different things being developed and moving well, which is nice to have the additional housing, but without the infrastructure to support it on this side of town, start to get a little nervous, especially for that, for things like fire and all of those other necessary infrastructure projects.
No, valid concern, Jacob. I will tell you, the city, you should hear in the next 2 months the progress the city's making to acquire space for a fire station. There'll be stuff that will be coming out, but it's not available yet for public consumption, but we are very aware of the need for a West Side Fire Station. I think a good portion of the councilors want to see that West Side Fire Station, and I'm hoping that before summer you're going to hear something on a West Side Fire Station.
Great. Last question. For all of this and the construction going on here and the timing of it, has it been addressed, the timing of all that construction along with the construction of Richer? Because that's a lot of action going on in this neighborhood in that period of time.
Yeah, well, the Richer one hasn't been approved yet by the council. I mean, that still has to come before the council to get approved. Again, you probably hear something about that in the next couple of months.
We've been to a number of those meetings and know what's going on there, and the timelines are similar.
Yep.
And so I want to make sure that it's kept in mind.
That's correct, yep.
Thank you very much.
Right, thanks, Jacob. Well done. Any other questions?
Hello.
Hello.
My name's Valerie Zamoulis, 19 McKay Drive. I'm concerned, I guess my question is, what would stop this? Is there anything that would stop this? What would it take to stop it? That's my question.
To stop the project?
Yes, because before, in 2007, I remembered they cleared the whole land, and they were in favor of the single-family homes. And then the recession hit, and we were left with a completely decimated backyard, and we overlook as you can see, we're that house up there in the top. So we're pretty much right in the backyard of this. I'm concerned about the lights at night, because right now we overlook the business, and that's very bright at night into our backyard. In the summertime, there's drag races on that road. There's people that camp out on the business dwellings. You can hear them at night. And I guess my question, in a way, I was kind of looking forward to a nice single-family home neighborhood. Because everywhere I look now in Marlboro, something's knocked down, and it's another apartment building, and more apartment buildings. And it seems to be taking away the beauty from the city. Not everywhere do we need a tall building or an apartment building. Sometimes it's nice to have a little quiet neighborhood to drive into in the city. Now, we've been lucky, I understand, the gentleman, we were talking about the wildlife. Right now, our backyard is like a little park. We have everything, from coyotes to bobcats, every conceivable thing. And when they built the apartment buildings that were up, I believe it was a little further back, I'm not sure the road, we had at that time every fox, baby fox, came into our family. We've seen all the wildlife had to migrate, but in the meantime, they migrated into our backyard. And when I called to share concern about children in the neighborhood with coyotes and all the other animals, I was just told, oh, let them do their thing. That's what the response I got when I called the wildlife. Now, I enjoy the wildlife, and I feel like the poor little creatures have nowhere to go. But I am concerned because I'm concerned about the light at night. I'm concerned about the noise. I understand what you're saying, the 55-plus community that you're hoping for, but sometimes things don't always go that way. And my question is there anything that would make people pause and think, maybe this isn't such a great idea? Because I'm feeling like it's a formality for us to just be here. And we've already gone through the Apex Center, I remember all that. I had expressed concern about having a mural painted on the side so it wouldn't be so obtrusive, and I was laughed at. Of course, some people in the neighborhood did like that idea. And I just don't understand, how many apartment buildings do we need in this community? And that's all I'm asking. If there's anything that would make you pause and think, I'd like to know what it is, because I'm feeling like there's not, and it's just a formality to be here.
So,
So,
you said Valerie, right? Is it
Valerie.
Valerie, so it still requires 8 votes. If there's not 8 votes on the council, the special permit gets denied. I mean, it's literally that simple. I mean, that's how the process works. The formality, I mean, as I tell anyone that asks, if you don't want something built there, buy the property. I mean, they have a right to build on the property. I mean, people don't like hearing that a lot, and I understand, but they own the property, they have a right to develop it. They're asking for a special permit. Well, they need now 8 votes of the city council in order to approve that project. So that's the short answer. The other questions, light, there's all sorts of light mitigation strategies these projects have now with down-facing lights, so they prevent light from going beyond the border. The wildlife part, you know, I've seen a lot of projects. We don't get many projects that are willing to give half of the project to open space. That's a pretty generous offer on the applicant's part, but, you know, you might not think so, or someone else might think it's too much, too little. That's okay. I'm trying to think. Noise, we have noise ordinances that is in effect to mitigate noise. The folks that are partying on the other places, I mean, other than calling the police when it happens and have them go down there, the council doesn't have control over that, unfortunately.
It was just something to consider.
Okay.
Okay? Well,
Nope.
thank you for your time.
Thank you very, well said, Valerie. Thank you very much. Anyone else with questions? Any other members of the public with questions? Member of the public with questions? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Public speaking in opposition. Members of the public speaking in opposition? Members of the public speaking in opposition? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Questions from the city councilors? Questions from the city councilors? Councilor Orm.
Thank you, Mr. President. I didn't know if there were other questions I was waiting to see, but I will say this body has heard a tremendous amount of concern and questions from our general public, and they will not be forgotten. I, for one, am concerned myself. These are large buildings. There's no guarantee, and the councilor presenting tonight, the attorney, and I spoke on the floor prior, there's no guarantee that this will not have children in there. So to wipe out what the school budget may become, I think is inappropriate. But we'll discuss that. I'm sure it's going to go to Urban Affairs, and those questions that were asked tonight, I think are valid and fair. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Orm. Any other questions from the councilors? Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. So what I appreciate being done here is how much outreach you guys have done to the local community. And we can't emphasize that basically, almost half the property is going to be conservation land when this is done. This is still an overlay district special permit proposal. The maximum of 90 units is the only thing we really can control here. They are condominiums, this isn't apartments, this is owner-occupied. I think that's an important part of this, because I don't think there's enough owner-occupied in the city, and right now condominiums are the most affordable way to get there. I agree there will be children, but that will be limited and constrained. Couples move in and get busy, but, that happens as well. In any case, I think overall it's reasonable. Is most of the parking actually underneath the buildings themselves?
Yes, that's correct, Councilor Doucette. So we have 144 parking spaces total. 90 of them will be in the garages under the buildings.
Are they going to be tagged for each of the individual units, or is it just?
That's the plan, yes.
That's the plan?
Because they're
And
going
then on
to
the
own the
outside?
unit, so they're going to have rights to parking space.
Right, and on the outside, you're on your own, basically?
Most likely.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Okay. Is it all electric? Is there going to be gas?
We haven't gotten that far in terms of construction drawings.
True, that's
I mean,
because it's special permit,
At
right?
this point, given the building codes, it's, certainly favored or difficult to do things that aren't all electric, but
Yeah.
certainly something we can talk about with Urban Affairs.
Sure, okay. So that's about it. We'll see what happens in Urban. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilor Doucette. Councilor Vital.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council Falk, right now, we're deciding on the Ames Village condos. However, the single-family homes would not require a special permit, is that true?
That's correct.
So if we don't do this project, the developer can just put 22 homes on that property, correct?
The applicant, if they were pursuing by right zoning in A3, they would need, the current subdivision, or the most recent subdivision has expired. So they would have to go through the planning board for subdivision approval, but it wouldn't come before the council as a special permit.
And based on your experience in handling a lot of projects like this, would there be more children in the 22 individual homes that would be flooding our school systems, or more from this condo program?
We believe the data indicates from the school department, data showing newer multifamilies have very few school kids, and those are projects that are not necessarily age targeted, some of which may have 3 bedrooms, which this project would not. So our math shows that there would be more school children in 21, 22 single-family homes than there would be in 90 age-targeted condominium units.
Thank you, Councilor Falk. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Vital. Councilor Navin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Attorney Falk, you were talking about the age-targeted piece of this and how that's kind of, aimed at a certain demographic, and you mentioned the amenities and the price point. Can you speak a little bit more about what the price point will be, recognizing it obviously going to be market-driven, but perhaps a range that you could offer for what the final product will be?
Sure. Our estimate is between 500 and 600,000. The numbers you see on our tax projection, we went with the higher end, 600,000. These, if we got approvals this year and started construction this year, we're looking at 18 to 24 months of construction, so it's a bit of an estimate, but that's what we would think if they were coming online now, between 500 and 600,000.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Navin. Councilor Preciado.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Attorney Falk, for being here. I just want to, thank you for reaching out to the neighborhood quite a few times. But I kind of saw an issue with when you guys were reaching out to the neighborhood. When you reached out to the neighborhood, you gave them 2 options. You gave them the single-family homes, and you gave them this project. And I feel as though they were kind of forced up against the wall to give positive and negatives for each project, without knowing that there was a third option, which was not building anything, right? Here's some positives from the neighbors for this project, which includes no neighbors, no families, no noise, no noisy kids, no noisy barbecues in their backyards. It seems as though it's not really a communal place for that immediate neighborhood. And I do respect, their thoughts and their concerns for that piece of land there, including their backyard. But I'm kind of seeing this as a project for the city, not just for this specific neighborhood. You say it preserves nature in the back. what I see is an isolated nature corridor, or an isolated area of nature right here. You've essentially cut off the corridor for anything to go in and out. My worry is wildlife coming out to the neighborhoods or coming out this way. I don't know what that's going to mean in the future for that wildlife. I don't know if it will continue to thrive in that backyard, especially during construction. It's probably 2 years of construction, I would assume. Not sure what's going to happen there. On the point of age targeting these units, I'm still not sure how you guys are going to do that. It seems as though you guys are removing amenities that you would typically see in units like these. Could you expand on how you're targeting that specifically? That age
Sure.
group?
So one of the things that many newer multifamilies, which are rentals, are doing is as many amenities as possible because they're competing with each other. Who's got the better pool? Who's offering a beer every Saturday? Those types of things are not going to be here. Again, this is an ownership property. So the folks buying in here are again, targeted at people looking to downsize, empty nesters who want to simplify their lives and quite honestly don't want to have to be paying monthly condominium charges for amenities that they don't really want. They don't want a pool. They don't want outdoor space. That's not what they're buying in here. They're buying in here so they can have a quiet, calm place that is, within their budget, coming down from usually a much larger and more expensive home that they would be selling. So it's in the amenity mix, and again, here, fewer amenities is what we're doing, because we're not trying to attract folks who are looking at different multifamilies they might want to rent in. We're looking for homeowners who want a specific type of a product, and this is what we're going for.
Thank you. Do you have a specific age you're targeting, or is this kind of seniors?
I mean, the target age really is 55 plus. It's just not restricted that way for the reasons I stated before.
So to expand on that, my concern on top of that is that looking at some statistics, the average salary for a retired senior in Marlboro is $60,000 a year, which seems like it would be unaffordable to live here. Statewide, it's $31,000. So I'm not really sure how seniors are supposed to afford these condos and how you're going to aim to target that given the amount of money that they have to spend on these properties. Another worry I have is because there's such lack of amenities here, and they're targeted for seniors, my worry is isolation for seniors, right? When we have isolated seniors, there's an incredible higher risk for dementia, there's a higher risk for heart disease, there's a higher risk for stroke, and this is all from the National Institute on Aging. People in isolation, people missing a partner, these are the effects that they suffer from. So when we have housing that is targeted for this specific age group and you remove all those amenities, I worry for the population that lives here.
Councilor Preciado, just remind, this is questions for the applicant. If you want to state your position, that's better served at Urban Affairs. Okay?
Understood.
Thank you.
How are these units going to be affordable for senior citizens living in Marlboro?
So our typical buyer is someone who is selling a home that they own for a whole lot more than they're buying this unit for. These are typically cash buyers that we find that are buying into this product. So they've already paid off their home. They own a 800, 1 million, 1.2, which is, that seems huge, but if you look at what 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom homes are selling for in Marlboro, that's not out of whack. Folks would be downsizing both in terms of the size of their unit, but also in the price point. So they're selling an $800,000, $900,000 home, and they're buying one for $500,000, $600,000. That's how they're affording it.
Understood. I have been looking at home prices in Marlboro lately. They are kind of high, but what I've noticed is a lot of the homes that do sell at a significantly lower price. Is that something you've taken into consideration? They're moving from this home to someplace like this?
Yeah, I don't espouse to being a real estate expert in terms of pricing. Anecdotally, that's not what I've seen, but I'm not going to dispute what you may have seen.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Preciado. Any other questions from the councilors? Questions from the councilors? Councilor Orm.
Thank you, Mr. President. Question would be, we talked about incomes, houses selling and all that. Any projection on what the condo fees will be once someone buys one of these units?
I don't know. We can certainly look into that and get that to you at Urban Affairs, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Thank you. That would be fine.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Orm. Any questions from the councilors? Councilor Ficillo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will keep it brief. Definitely have a lot of comments for the Urban Affairs Committee, which I'll present, but a couple of quick questions and then just one clarifying factor. I know I've brought this statistic to the floor many times, but since 2019, we have added 598 units to the city. We have added 27 kids to our school district from those units. So the idea that these 90 units are going to bring tons of kids just is not true. We've seen time and time again the statistics tell us otherwise. I do want to thank Fred, Councilor Brown, Jacob, Dana, Valerie. Thank you for being here and asking the questions. Councilor Preciado, I think you had a couple very good questions there. And on that note, saw that there's some significant side and rear yard. Is there any kind of plan for that? You had mentioned no picnic tables, nothing like that. This is just going to be open green space, I assume?
Yeah, there may be some outdoor amenities, but they're going to be fairly subdued. Will there be a grill and a patio? Probably, but it's going to be fairly limited. This is not going to be a place for pool parties.
Right. Thank you, I appreciate it. And next, just any idea of what lot coverage could look like with the single-family homes, right? I know we're at something like 18% if we go the condominium route. Single-family homes, what does that plan look like?
So the lot coverage in A3, off the top of my head, I don't remember. I think it's around 30%. So lot coverage wouldn't be a whole lot more, but it's more what portion of that parcel is going to have built areas. And we don't have that slide here because this is not a zoning amendment. We're looking at what baseline could be and what overlay could be. But I believe the images we had showed almost all of that dark green area, which is currently reserved open space, would have house lots on it. So you would have, homes up against those rear lot lines, or building lots up against those rear lot lines with a 30-foot setback to the current lot line. So more of the site, for sure, would be disturbed under baseline zoning.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it, Attorney Falk. And to me, it seems like we'd be close to almost clear cutting. I mean, it seems like most of this green will be gone if we were to go a different option. Folks have heard me say before, I'm definitely had supported this project previously. Like I said, I'll save my comments for Urban Affairs, but appreciate you folks being here. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Ficillo. Any other questions from the councilors? Questions from the councilors? Questions from the councilors? Councilor Roby.
Not a question, just kind of the last step for this is as soon as we get the special permit language, I'll set up an Urban Affairs meeting and we will begin discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Roby. Any other questions from the councilors? I got to ask 3 times. Any other questions from the councilors? Any questions from the councilors? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing and the entire public hearing, and this item is in Urban Affairs. Thank you for all those that came out this evening.
All right, thank you very much.
Agenda item number 4.
Communication from the mayor regarding request for executive session to consider the purchase or value of real property.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to the end of the agenda, please.
Motion made and seconded, remove this item to the end of our agenda. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? This item's going to the end of the agenda, and the vote is 10-0. Agenda item number 5.
Communication from the mayor regarding gift acceptance in the amount of $6,200 from the police patrol and command unions awarded to the police department to be used for the K-9 unit.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to approve the gift, please.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the gift. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Gift is approved, and the vote is 10-0. Agenda item number 6.
Communication from the mayor regarding a transfer request in the amount of $565,811 from PEG funds to Marlboro Cable Trust to fund the operation of WMCT-TV for fiscal year 2027 and capital items. In addition, there is a disclosure on file from Councilor Ossing relative to this transfer.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to refer to the Finance Committee, please.
Motion is made and seconded to refer to the Finance Committee. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The item's going to Finance, and the vote is 10-0. Agenda item number 7.
Communication from the mayor regarding the reappointment of Diane Smith as city auditor for a 3-year term to expire from the date of council confirmation.
Councilor Oram.
Thank you, Mr. President. My motion is to accept and place on file and approve the request for Diane Smith to be reappointed. Thank you.
Motion's made and seconded to reappoint Diane Smith as the auditor. Any discussion on the motion? Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Is Diane here tonight?
She is not.
Okay.
Woman, I might add.
Yeah, no. Thank goodness she's coming back for more. So she is an asset to the community, and I think that having her commit for another 3 years is a good sign for the city. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilor Doucette. Any other comments on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? The reappointment is approved, and the vote is 10-0. Agenda item number 8.
Communication from the mayor regarding reappointments to the Parks and Recreation Commission of Robert Kays and William F. Doherty for 3-year terms to expire on February 28, 2029, in addition to the reappointments of Michael Cabral, Melinda K. Gallagher, Shanisa R. Sampson, and John J. Welch, Jr. for 3-year terms respectively, to expire as follows: Michael Cabral on September 21, 2028, Melinda Gallagher on March 23, 2029, Shanisa Sampson, on March 8, 2029, and John J. Welch on October 28, 2028.
Councilor Oram.
Thank you, Mr. President. As with the past item, these are reappointments, and I forgot to thank Diane Smith, so my many thanks to her for her service, and also the people being reappointed under item number 8 for the Recreation and Commission, Parks and Recreation Commission. So I'm going to ask that they be reappointed tonight, and I would ask for approval of these reappointments.
Motion is made and seconded to reappoint the members of the Parks and Rec Commission. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Councilor Vital.
Thank you, Mr. President. As a member of as a commissioner in the Recreation Commission for many years, I have recruited some of these folks to come onto the commission. I have worked with all of them, and this is a commission second to none, and I wholeheartedly support their reaffirmation.
Thank you,
Mr. President.
Any other comments on the motion? On the motion to approve the Councilor Oram.
One more. I forgot to note, in the letter from the mayor, it notes, "I want to thank Mark Vital for being on the Recreation Commission since 2012 in this seat. Having him serve on the commission for all these years has brought value and different perspective and insight into his work on the council." Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Oram. On the motion to approve the reappointments, all those in favor? Opposed? The reappointments are approved, and the vote is 10-0. Agenda item number 9.
Communication from the mayor regarding the appointment of Colleen F. Marinelli to the Parks and Recreation Commission for a 3-year term to expire on February 28, 2029.
Councilor Oram.
Mr. President, I would ask that we refer this to the Personnel Committee.
Motion made and second, refer to the Personnel Committee. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It's going to Personnel, and the vote is 10-0. Agenda item number 10.
Communication from the Retirement Board regarding a notice of a meeting to be held on May 26, 2026, to consider whether to grant an increase in the cost of living adjustment pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 32, Section 103I.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to accept and place on file the communication, please.
Motion's made and seconded to accept and place on file the communication. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Communication is filed, and the vote is 10-0. Agenda item number 11.
Petition of Mass Electric and Verizon to install one joint-owned pole on Forest Street, beginning at a point approximately 70 feet southwest of the center line of the intersection of Martin Angelo Drive and Ames Street. National Grid is proposing to install a new pole on Forest Street labeled P4150.
Councilor Ficillo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to set a date for a public hearing on March 23rd and to refer to the city engineer.
Motion's made and seconded to set a date for the public hearing for March 23rd and send to the city engineer. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. This is going to have a public hearing on March 23rd. Go to the DPW Engineering Department, and the vote is 10-0. Agenda item 13. 12.
Petition of Mass Electric and Verizon to install one joint-owned pole on Highland Street, beginning at a point approximately 110 feet north of the center line of the intersection of Lincoln Street and Jefferson Street. National Grid is proposing to install a new 50-foot H1 midspan pole between P1 and P2 on Highland Street. The pole is to be located on city property and will be labeled P150.
Councilor Ficillo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to set a date for a public hearing on March 23rd and to send to the city engineer.
Motion made and seconded to set a public hearing for March 23rd and send to the city engineer. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We will have a public hearing on March 23rd and send to the city engineer. The vote is 10-0. Agenda item 13.
Petition to Mass Electric and Verizon to install one joint-owned pole on Washington Street, beginning at a point approximately 160 feet east of the center line of the intersection of Devon Street and Bolton Street. National Grid is proposing to install a new 50-foot Class H1 midspan pole between pole P15 and P16 on Washington Street. The pole is to be on city property and be labeled P1550.
Councilor Ficillo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's do this one more time. Move to set a date for public hearing on March 23rd and to send to the city engineer.
Set a public hearing for March 23rd, and we send it to the city engineer. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? There'll be a public hearing on March 23rd. Go to the city engineer, and the vote is 10-0. Agenda item 14.
Communication from attorney Paul Momney on behalf of BH Group TCAM Owner LLC and BH Group TCAM Owner 2 LLC, affiliates of Great Land Realty Partners, regarding proposed zoning amendment to Chapter 650 zoning, Section 33, Results Way Mixed Use Overlay District, along with a proposed master concept plan for the development of the campus at Marlborough.
Councilor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to refer this to Urban Affairs, set a public hearing for April 6th, and advertise.
And the planning board.
And refer to the planning board.
Motion made and seconded to refer to the Urban Affairs Committee. The Planning Board will set a public hearing for April 6th and advertise. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. It's going to Urban Affairs, the Planning Board, with a public hearing April 6th and advertise, and the vote is 10-0. Agenda item 15.
Communication from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources regarding a notice of public hearing for the vegetation management plan to be held on March 27, 2026.
Councilor Ficillo.
Thank you, Mr. President. For those watching at home, the Department of Agricultural Resources has sent us, advised us that MassDOT D3 is proposing to utilize herbicides to treat their right-of-way, and there will be a public hearing on March 27, 2026 at 9:30 a.m. That meeting is on Zoom, and the link to that is in our agenda. With that, move to accept and file.
Motion is made and seconded to accept and place on file the communication. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Communication is filed and the vote is 10-0. 16.
Minutes, boards, commissions, and committees.
Mr. President.
Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Motion to accept and place on file the minutes of the boards, commissions, and committees.
Motion is made and seconded to accept and place on file all the minutes. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The minutes are filed and the vote is 10-0. Claims. Oh, no,
What he
17.
said.
You do claims.
What he said.
Claims.
Claims.
Mr. President.
Councilor Doucette.
Motion to submit the claims to the legal department.
Motion made and seconded to send the claims to our legal department. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The claims are going to legal, and the vote is 10-0. Reports of committees. Who would like to go first? Councilor Oram.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just grabbed a sip of water because I got a little reading to do here, but we have 6 appointments from February 9th, 2026, and March 2nd, 2026 Personnel Committee. I'll read the February 9th, and Mr. President, councilors, I will be asking for suspensions on all these 6 appointments. Okay, so for February 9th, order number 261009-637, appointment of Judy McDonald to the Council of Aging for a 4-year term to expire on May 6, 2030. On a motion by Councilor Navin, second by Chair Oram, the committee recommended approval of the appointment of Judy McDonald to the Council on Aging for a 4-year term to expire May 6, 2030. The vote was 3-0. On the second order, number 261009-638, reappointment of Raymond McGee to the Council on Aging for a 4-year term to expire May 6, 2030. On a motion by Councilor Navin, seconded by the Chair Oram, the committee recommended approval of the reappointment of Raymond McGee to the Council on Aging for a 4-year term to expire on May 6, 2030. The vote was 3-0. And then on a motion from Councilor Doucette, seconded by the Chair, the meeting adjourned at 7:07 p.m. And as noted, I'll be asking for a suspension for those 2 positions, as well as the next 4 that were heard on at the Personnel Committee on March 2nd, 2026. Voting members present, Chair Oram, Councilor Navin, and Doucette. Other councilors present, Councilor Ossing, Vital, Irish, and Fucello. Order number 26-100-9653, appointment of Pamela McNair to the Commission on Disabilities for a 3-year term effective from the date of the City Council confirmation. On a motion by Councilor Navin, seconded by Chair Oram, the committee recommends approval of the appointment of Pamela McNair to the Commission on Disabilities for a 3-year term, effective the date of City Council confirmation. Vote 3-0. Order number 26-100-9654, appointment of Karen Thompson to the Commission on Disabilities for a 3-year term, effective from the date of City Council confirmation. On a motion by Councilor Doucette, seconded by Chair Oram, the committee recommended approval of the appointment of Karen Thompson to the Commission on Disabilities for a 3-year term, effective date from the date of the City Council confirmation. Vote was 3-0. Order number 26-100-9655, appointment of Karen Patty to the Board of Health for a 3-year term to expire on February 28th, 2029. On a motion by Councilor Navin, seconded by Chair Oram, the committee recommended approval of the appointment of Karen Patty to the Board of Health for a 3-year term to expire on February 28th, 2029. The vote was 3-0. And the last one was order number 26-100-9652, X 26-100-9651. Appointment of Jeffrey F. Gogan as Fire Chief for a 5-year term effective from the date of City Council confirmation. On a motion by Councilor Navin, seconded by Chair Oram, the committee recommends approval of the contract, job description, and the appointment of Jeffrey F. Gogan as Fire Chief for a 5-year term effective from the date of the City Council confirmation. Vote 3-0. On a motion by Councilor Doucette, seconded by Chair Oram, the meeting adjourned at 7:15 p.m. And Mr. President, I will be asking for suspensions on all 6 positions.
Motion made and seconded to suspend the rules for all 6 committee appointments. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the suspension? Suspension carries. The vote is 10-0. Councilor, Mr. Clerk, I'll ask you to read each one, please.
Order number 26-100-9637, the appointment of Judy McDonald to the Council on Aging for a 4-year term to expire May 6, 2030. Recommendation of the Personnel Committee is to approve.
Councilor Oram.
Recommend motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded to move the recommendation of the committee to approve. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. The appointment is confirmed, and the vote is 10-0.
Order number 26-100-9638, the reappointment of Raymond McGee to the Council on Aging for a 4-year term to expire on May 6, 2030. Recommendation of the Personnel Committee is to approve.
Councilor Oram.
Move the recommendation of the Personnel Committee to approve.
Motion made and seconded to move the recommendation of the committee to approve. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. The appointment is approved, and the vote is 10-0.
Order number 26-100-9653, the appointment of Pamela McNair to the Commission on Disabilities for a 3-year term, effective from the date of council confirmation. Recommendation of the Personnel Committee is to approve.
Councilor Oram.
Recommend the vote of the Personnel Committee to approve.
Motion made and seconded to move the recommendation of the Personnel Committee, which is to approve. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion of the Personnel Committee to approve the appointment is approved, and the vote is 10-0.
Order number 26-100-9654, the appointment of Karen Thompson to the Commission on Disabilities for a 3-year term effective from the date of council confirmation. Recommendation of the Personnel Committee is to approve.
Councilor Oram.
Recommend the Personnel Committee's vote of 3-0 to approve.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the Personnel Committee's motion to approve the appointment. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Appointment is approved. The vote is 10-0. Ms. Karen, congratulations. Thank
Not
you.
yet.
Not yet, the other
Come on, I was right
Order
there.
number 26-100-9655, appointment of Karen Patty to the Board of Health for a 3-year term to expire on February 28th, 2029. Recommendation of the Personnel Committee is to approve.
Now I'll do
Now you
that. Councilor.
I did the same thing in committee, so it's okay. I'm going to recommend approval of the Personnel Committee to approve, and congratulations are in order. Thank you.
Motion made and seconded to move the recommendation of the committee is to approve the appointment to the Board of Health. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. The vote is 10-0. Ms. Karen, congratulations. Well done. Thank you very much.
And Order 26-100-9652, the appointment of Jeffrey F. Gogan Jr. as Fire Chief for a 5-year term effective from the date of council confirmation. Recommendation of the Personnel Committee is to approve the contract, job description, and the appointment of Jeffrey F. Gogan Jr.
Councilor Orm.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just so everyone knows, Fire Chief Gogan is here. I hope family members are here as well. But I'm going to recommend the vote of the Personnel Committee to approve.
Motion made and seconded to move the recommendation of the Personnel Committee, which is to approve the appointment, the contract, and the job description. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The appointment, contract, and job description are approved, and the vote is 10-0. Congratulations, Chief. Best of luck, Chief. Thank you. Other reports of committees. Council Ficillo.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Public Services Committee met on March 2nd, 2026 at 6:15 p.m. We had 3 items on that evening's agenda, and I'll be asking for suspensions on all 3. We started with order number 26-100-9665, application for renewal of a taxi livery license from Katsunori Tanaka, doing business at Global Limousine and Tour Services, 17 Eager Court. Mr. Tanaka was present for the discussion. The chair highlighted that Police Chief David Georgie did receive Mr. Tanaka's query and was without objection to the license renewal. Councilor Irish thanked Mr. Tanaka for doing business in the city and asked to ensure that all 3 vehicles were garaged at Eager Court and are paying excise tax to the city, to which Mr. Tanaka confirmed. On a motion by Councilor Vital, seconded by the chair, the committee recommends approval of the taxi livery license renewal. The vote was 3-0. Next up, order number 26-100-9620A, a communication from City Solicitor Jason Grossfield regarding proposed order of acceptance on Jewel Road as a public way, along with associated easements. The chair read the letter from the solicitor dated January 21st, 2026, detailing the proposal, along with copies of the acceptance plan and deed, which included the description of the easements. Councilor Irish stated that he was in support of the city adding these parcels, and on a motion by Councilor Vital, seconded by the chair, the committee recommended approval of the proposed order of acceptance of Jewel Road as a public way, along with associated easements. The vote carried 3-0. Last up, we had order number 26-100-9620A, communication from City Solicitor Jason Grossfield regarding proposed order of acceptance of open space within the Bozeman Estates Open Space Development Special Permit. Thank you, Councilor Orm, for helping me pronounce that. The chair read the letter from the City Solicitor dated January 21st, 2026, explaining that based on the subdivision plan, Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8C, a little over 2 acres of land will be placed under management control of the Conservation Commission. The chair noted that the Conservation Officer, Priscilla Ryder, shared that one of the adjacent parcels has vernal pools, further highlighting the ecological impact in protecting this space. Councilor Orem mentioned that the Planning Board had previously reviewed the estate and the subdivision plan. Councilor Orem shared with some board members the concern about the size of the houses, but is grateful for the open space parcel. And on a motion by Councilor Vital, seconded by the chair, the committee recommended approval of the proposed order of acceptance of open space within the Bozeman Estates Open Space Development, and that vote carried 3-0. We adjourned at 6:23 p.m. I'm asking for a suspension to take up those 3 items.
Motion made and seconded for a request for suspension for all 3 items. All those in favor of suspension? Opposed? Suspension carries, and the vote is 10-0.
Order number 26-100-9665, the application for renewal of a taxi livery license from Katsunori Tanaka, DBA Global Limousine and Tour Services at 17 Eager Court. Recommendation of the Public Services Committee is to approve.
Councilor Ficillo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the recommendation of the committee to approve the license renewal.
Motion made and seconded to approve the license renewal. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The license is renewed, and the vote is 10-0.
Order number 26, dash 100-9620A, communication from Solicitor Jason Grossfield regarding proposed order of acceptance of Jewel Road as a public way along with associated easements. The recommendation of the Public Services Committee is to approve.
Counsel Ficillo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the recommendation of committee to approve.
Motion made and seconded to approve the recommendation to accept Jewel Road as a public way. Councilor Sargent.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think it's important to highlight for the community that Marlboro has an ordinance. Everything named in the city should be named after a deceased Marlboro veteran. And so I'd like to present tonight a little bit about Joseph Jewell, who the street is named for. Joseph Jewell was born in Canada and was working as a shoemaker when he enlisted into the Army the 11th of August, 1862. He was assigned to Company H of the 33rd Massachusetts Infantry, which was assigned to the Army of the Potomac, taking part in the Battle of Chancellorsville, Gettysburg, before being transferred to the Army of the Cumberland. Joseph was assigned as a teamster as part of an ammunition train, and on the 28th of July, 1864, near Lookout Valley, Tennessee, the wagon he was driving exploded, resulting in burns to his face, hands, and feet, from which he would ultimately die. He's buried in the Chattanooga National Cemetery in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and he was only 20 years old. So I think it's important that we highlight what our streets, squares, schools, everything is named for here in the city. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well done, Councilor Sargent. In all my years, I don't think we've had that level of insight, so that's a great addition, so thank you very much. Appreciate that. On the motion to accept Jewel Road as a public way, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Jewel Road is accepted as a public way, and the vote is 10-0.
Order number 26-100-9620A, proposed order of acceptance of open space within the Boschman Estates Open Space Development Special Permit. Recommendation of the Public Services Committee is to approve.
Councilor Ficillo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the recommendation of the committee to approve.
Motion made and seconded to move the recommendation of the committee to approve the open space easement. All those, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries, and the vote is 10-0. Any other reports of committees? Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public service announcement, Finance Committee will be meeting on March 16th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. Thank you.
Any other reports of committees? Hearing none. Agenda item 18.
Resolution of the City Council supporting the passage of House Bill H-91 and Senate Bill S-2556 to modernize funding for community media programming, submitted by Councilors Vital and Fucillo. In addition, we have a disclosure filed by Councilor Ossing relative to this resolution.
Councilor Vital.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to approve the motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the resolution. Any discussion on the motion? Councilor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wasn't sure whether this was going to get referred or approved. Either way, I am not in favor of supporting this resolution. I have never had a television since 1982. My use of cable has obviously been not needed. And I understand that people who have had cable within the city have chosen to not have cable because they can get the programs that they used to have cable for through other mechanisms, the streaming services. And so cable access across the state, their PEG funds have been reduced. So there's this desire now to figure out a way to supplement because a lot of cable stations have increased what they're doing. It used to be simply having city council and school committee meetings so people could watch, and also the ability to have the programs that you couldn't get without cable. You don't need cable anymore to watch a lot of stuff, but cable stations still want to go bigger. Let them go bigger within the budget that they've got. And much like everybody's complaining with the extra charges on our electric bills, I don't think it's fair for people who have Hulu and Netflix and Apple TV to have to pay an extra service charge to fund something that they don't use. So I will not be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Roby. Councilor Ficillo.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I appreciate Councilor Roby's comments there. I know for myself, right, I am of the generation which I grew up with streaming services, Hulu, Netflix, you can name it. I probably have it. But on that same note, this meeting tonight wouldn't be recorded if it wasn't for our local cable access. It wouldn't get picked up by somebody live streaming on Facebook or something like that. It is WMCT-TV who, since 1982, coincidentally, has brought this to households all across Marlborough. And as we see every year when they come in for their budget, or at least the last few years that I've seen them, when they come in here, they're worried about the trajectory that they're facing in terms of people unplugging from cable and people signing up. Largely, people are signing up for streaming service instead, and they are losing revenue every single year. So as to the average cost of cable here in Massachusetts, it's about $80 a month for folks. Cost of streaming nationally, I couldn't find Massachusetts, is about $47 to $55 a month. So even if these streaming services ended up imposing that fee onto their consumers, it would have to be a 70% increase into what they're currently paying for it to match what it is for cable. So I don't think that this fee is going to end up hitting consumers in some way that all of a sudden they're going to have this large charge that they're facing. One thing that I do want to highlight, and a big reason why I am supporting this and co-sponsoring this with Councilor Vital, is that folks on the State House need some support in getting this passed. All members of our delegation have supported this or co-signed it. So Leader Gregoire, Rep. Gentile, they have supported and co-signed H91, and Senator Eldridge has co-signed S2556. In order to get this passed, they need resolutions like this one, so they can go up to the Hill and say, I have my largest municipality in my district is saying, hey, we want to get this done. So I've had many conversations with Ryan Maliar, the director over at WMCT-TV. He really believes this is the path forward. This is what's going to change the funding framework that protects them for years to come, and that's a big reason why I'm supporting this. I'm also happy to let it go to committee so we can have a larger conversation, but I'm in full support of approving it tonight with Councilor Vital. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Ficillo. Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will be supporting this resolution this evening. I know I'm thinking 2, if not 3, the last budget hearings we've had with WMCT-TV, this subject has come up ad nauseum. So I do support this. I know Councilor Ficillo said this may get the wheels going. I still have questions on will this get passed in the House? And then there's even rumors and talking that if it gets to the Supreme Court, the PEG funds could be removed completely. So we do have to have a safety net going forward of getting these funds. But thank you, Councilor Ficillo and Councilor Vital. I will support this resolution this evening. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks, Councilor Irish. Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I see this more as creating content locally. That how do you fund creating content locally? Because there's news and information that happens in this community. WMC-TV basically is here not only with us, but traveling, the sports games and all that stuff as well. This is local content that otherwise would not be covered. And, it was based on a financial model which is deteriorating because technology changes, okay? At the end of the day, the cable fees are going down. Yeah, people are cutting the cord, quote unquote, and going to streaming and all that stuff, and it's more dynamic demand. But how do we leverage this so that there's still local content created that people can look at and see what's going on in their community? And that's really what I see that an important part of this proposal. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Ted. Councilor Preciado.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to congratulate Councilor Vital and Trey for presenting this to us. I'm sure it's quite a bit of work. But I do support this. I believe it brings equitable local access to government programming. On top of that, it creates local jobs, spurs interest in media, journalism, and creates community connection. So I'm fully in support with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Preciado. Councilor Oram.
I'll make it quick. I'm one of the councilors, and we'll be doing it again in finance, and I'll be saying the PEG funds are going down each year, and it's because subscribers are going down. And I always ask, what can we do? And I agree this is a good resolution. I hope it gets passed at the state level, and I will be supporting it. Thank you to the councilors who sponsored it.
Thank you, Councilor Oram. Anyone else? On the motion to approve the resolution, all those in favor? Opposed? The resolution is approved, and the vote is 9-1. What's that? Oh, yeah, no, I was thinking about going away, but we can't do that. Yeah.
This goes back to the executive session. Move that the Marlborough City Council will meet in executive session under Purpose 6 of the Open Meeting Law, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. As the chair hereby declares, that discussion in an open session may have a detrimental effect on the city and the city's council's negotiating position. The city council will not reconvene in open session after the executive session.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to approve and move into executive session, please.
Motion made and seconded to approve the order. We will not be coming back after the executive session. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, it's a roll call vote to go into executive session. A yes vote is to go into executive session. I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilor Vital.
Yes.
Councilor Sargent.
Yes.
Councilor Oram.
Yes.
Councilor Gould is absent. Councilor Doucette.
Yes.
Councilor Roby.
Yes.
Councilor Preciado.
Yes.
Councilor Irish.
Yes.
Councilor Navin.
Yes.
Councilor Fucillo.
Yes.
And Councilor Ossing.
Yes.
10 yeas, sir.
The motion to go into executive session is passed. The vote is 10-0. We will go into executive session. We will adjourn. I'll ask for an adjournment of our regular meeting. Everybody good? We'll adjourn the regular meeting at 9:15. We'll clear the chamber, and then we'll go into executive session. Vote is 10-0.